The other 8 are the ones you actually burn. And tonight is night number 6.
So now, do you burn? So you're supposed to start on the right. So
yes,
you burn the first one.
Which I'm still not doing it right.
So you have empty menorah.
Okay.
And then let's pretend the one is the middle one. Is that one there already, or are all the candles in there, or do you put the candle in the light?
No. Like night 1, there's the one in the middle that you use to light the first one over on the side.
So you do light it.
You light it to light the other ones, and then you blow it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now do you?
Some people let it burn.
Night,
but
do you light? So you start with 1, and then you light 2 the next night,
correct.
and then 3 the next night.
Right.
Okay,
right.
got it.
Yeah,
This is great.
It's chronological like that.
Okay.
Right? The numbers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all mathematical.
Kind of like
and
our
everything.
song that's coming up in 25 minutes.
25 minutes away, we sing, but right now we talk to the great Grant Paulson in D.C. every single day. 106.7 The Fan, also MLB Network Radio. So, we might talk a little bit of baseball. But first, let's get Grant in here and talk a little bit about the Commanders and the 49ers. Joe Theismann was on a half hour ago, Grant, and he compared Brock Purdy to Taylor Heineke and said pretty similar situations. Do you agree?
No, not necessarily. I love Joe Theismann, though.
Yeah,
my guy.
We do, too.
He's very good.
Here's what's different. You got Kyle Shanahan drawing up plays. That's not the case in Washington. You got Trent Williams at left tackle. They ran him out of town a few years ago. Otherwise, I guess they both play quarterback, and they're both a little engine that's good. But, yeah, that San Francisco situation's really good. I mean, I get what Joe's saying, though. Stick aside. Now you look at it, and these are two teams with really good defenses. The 49ers probably the best in football. Washington has dominated throughout this second half of the season, where they've turned their year around. Their defensive line, which is coming off of one of their least productive games of the year, frankly, has been tremendous. So Montez Sweat and Daron Payne are alternates for the Pro Bowl and probably should be Pro Bowlers. Sean Allen's going to the Pro Bowl for a second straight year and could very well be an All-Pro. They lead a group up front that's phenomenal. So Washington's script is similar, I guess, to San Francisco's with Garoppolo or with Purdy, which is to play D and to run the ball effectively and to hit some shots. The problem is their quarterback, Heineke, just hadn't been able to.
You mentioned that defensive line, and I think their defensive line is going to give San Francisco some problems. But Chase Young also coming back. Are we expecting to see him on an every down basis? Is he going to play 10 snaps, 20? What are you thinking we see from Chase Young on Saturday?
I think somewhere between 8 and 12 reps, probably, like a maximum of 15 if they really let him let his hair down. And if it doesn't go well or he doesn't feel great, maybe like 7 or 8. I don't expect him to have a big impact. I mean, the story is larger just that he's back on the field here locally than that he's going to be a big producer or impact performer for Washington. He has not played. He got hurt last year in early November, guys, and he had a ruptured patella to go with an ACL, and it's been a really lengthy recovery. It's been really peculiar. The team kind of thought he was going to play as far back as like 6 weeks ago against the Eagles on Monday Night Football. And he's had kind of this mental block, from what I can gather, that has been hard to get over, which is, not his fault. This is just the reality. So they're thrilled to get him back on the field. I think the best case scenario, their dream would be, he makes a play, whether it's a TFL or he blows something up in the backfield, or maybe he comes free unblocked and they don't account for him and he get a hit on the quarterback. Something like that would be a really cool exclamation point to end this paragraph of his book where this recovery just lingered forever.
Grant Paulson, 106.7 The Fan in D.C. with us here on Willard and Dibbs. Kyle in for Dibbs, 95.7 The Game. We're getting ready for Niners and Commanders tomorrow. Grant, I also asked this of Joe, and I wonder what your thoughts are. People may not realize Washington was really close, maybe the closest of teams to end up acquiring Jimmy Garoppolo this past offseason. It didn't happen. They end up with Carson Wentz, and we know where that is now. What is the future of that position in Washington, and could Garoppolo still be a part of the conversation?
Yeah, I absolutely think he could still be a part of the conversation. I mean, Ron Rivera got really upset when he was asked about that Schefter report that the team had tried to trade for Jimmy G, but then wasn't able to pull off the deal. You guys may remember in a press conference several weeks back, he walked off the podium and kind of cursed about it and said, hey, we wanted Carson all along. I think that was kind of an act and a show they put on to make Carson feel wanted. which is ironic and funny because that was the night that Wentz played for the last time. He got hurt and then subsequently lost his job. I think there's a chance you could actually see Wentz, though, in this game. As you fast forward, life comes at you fast. Heineke's now on the precipice, if he doesn't play well, of being sat. They could go back to Wentz. If they don't do it during this game, I think they're going to go back to Carson Wentz next week against the Browns for the final game or two of this season. But yeah, they're going to be in the quarterback market. I mean, Carson Wentz is due close to $30 million next year and is playing, while healthy, behind a guy last year that they told everyone they had to upgrade from, wasn't good enough, and who they feel like a backup. So it's going to be hard for them to tell or justify to anybody that they feel like they could pay Wentz and make him the starter, barring the only thing that would keep them from being back in the market is if Wentz were to, say, come into the game against San Francisco and look okay in a loss or whatever this week, and then, the next two games plays really well, they make the playoffs, and he plays okay in a playoff loss or something like that. Then maybe you could justify, hey, we want to see more of this guy. But I think they are going to be back in the veteran QB market, and Garoppolo will be a name they'll be interested in.
You mentioned Kyle Shanahan and his play calling, but you just discussed kind of the Commanders' issues at quarterback. Is that quarterback issue their biggest problem offensively?
Oh, for sure. Unequivocally, yeah, definitely. I mean, there are some concerns and questions still about how good their coordinator is, to kind of your point on Scott Turner. Like, I think most of us know you don't have Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay or Kevin O'Connell or Mike McDaniel here, right? One of these hotshot young head coaches. A lot of the guys I named actually were in Washington at one point in time. But, this is not a situation where, Turner is going to be interviewing for jobs and getting a head coaching job and being some savant in 2 years. Having said that, I think there's a conversation to be had that he's good enough, that he's fine, that he does a okay job. How could you ever know when the quarterbacks he's worked with are, Alex Smith after his huge injury and Taylor Heineke and sadly the late Dwayne Haskins and now, Carson Wentz who struggled and Kyle Allen who's been benched by the Texans this year. Like, this is the list of QBs that have run his offense. So, yeah, they just don't get enough production. I mean, there's evidence every single week. There was a 27-yard completion this past week where they completed a pass down the field on the sideline. They should have been a touchdown. It's just a designed 6 points, wide open. You get the right coverage. There's a bust. It's a score, and it's thrown to the sideline, and Samuel has to stop to catch it and get out of bounds. And, everyone claps and celebrates because he just got a 30-yard explosive, but it should have been 6, and those plays are just too frequent in this offense.
Grant Paulson with us here from D.C., 95.7 The Game. Grant, know you do a lot with Major League Baseball as well, so I'll ask the question this way. We are experiencing a week where the Giants fan base out here is livid with ownership, and that's not something we're used to. And so, A, I wonder what your perspective is just from the baseball side, but B, an ownership change with the Nationals. We know what the ownership situation is with the Commanders. Would you compare these situations in any sort of a way, and what would you tell a Giants fan base that seems to be entering into a poor relationship with ownership?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, I think the Giants offseason, I feel so badly for that fan base. What a great fan base it is. And you thought you had Aaron, or I guess Arson Judge, for 7 minutes. And then you thought you had Carlos Correa for a week. I can't even fathom. I don't remember anything like that in the history of baseball off seasons and the hot stove. But yeah, there's no other way around it. It's been a categorical disaster for the Giants. I mean, it has been a real debacle of the last couple of weeks. To your point, though, I would say that this is fixable. Like, the relationship is right now going through a tough spot. But, like, you guys are a good couple. Your owner and you're a good couple. You guys will get through this. Here's how I know that. I'm in a situation that is untenable, right? The Nationals don't spend money. Like, their owners have essentially checked out at this point from what we can tell. They're trying to sell the team. This is off-season number 3, where the big move so far has been Trevor Williams in the rotation and Erasmo Ramirez back in the bullpen. And they're, everyone's supposed to be excited because they claimed Jeter down when he was DFA'd, and they added him to the 40-man And like that's their off season. Like their president is given $10 million to spend when their payroll is basically $60 million when you take out what they're paying Max Scherzer to pitch in their division for the Mets and the Steven Strasburg contract, which is a real problem. But some of these examples we're mentioning, I think this is indicative of kind of what happens when ownership here in Washington, I think, and agents have relationships, right? As you can make a call and get something done, and it gets real tough real fast for the front office executives. But you'll get through this if you're Giants fans. They got money they'll spend eventually. Look, the Judge thing, you can't blame them for. I mean, they tried. The Correa thing is just a mess.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's all well said. Hey, Grant, really good stuff. Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you, bud.
Appreciate you guys. Happy holidays. I'm going to have to pull up the app and hear you guys singing.
That's coming up in 15 minutes, brother, and I think it's worth it. You're not going to want to miss it.
I got you.
All right,
the Odyssey app
there
plug
it is,
at the end
Odyssey
here. Grant,
app.
what a
That's
pro.
really well done.
What
That's
a pro.
Grant Paulson, 106.7. The Fan in D.C.
An Odyssey station.
An Odyssey station.